Bernie Sanders was asked a little trick/trap question here, and he gave an awesome answer.
President, 2 more U.S. soldiers were killed today in Afghanistan, tragically, in America's longest war. Senator Sanders, you've long said you want to bring the troops back home from Afghanistan. Would you cut a deal with the Taliban to end the war, even if it means the collapse of the Afghan government that America has long supported?
Well, let me just say this. One of the big differences between the Vice President and myself is he supported the terrible war in Iraq, and I helped lead the opposition against it. And not only that, I voted against the very first Gulf War as well. And I think we need a foreign policy which understands who our enemies are, that we don't have to spend more money on the military than the next 10 nations combined. But to answer your question, yeah, I think it is time, after spending many trillions of dollars on these endless wars, which have resulted in more dislocation and mass migrations and pain in that region, it is time to bring our troops home. But unlike Trump, I will not do it through a tweet at 3 o'clock in the morning. I will do it working with the international community, and if it's necessary to negotiate with the Taliban, of course, we will do that. But at the end of the day, we have to rethink the entire war on terror, which has caused so much pain and lost so many lives, not only for our own men and women in the armed forces, but for people in that region as well.
Damn. Now, there was another answer where he really went after Saudi Arabia strongly, and then he also mentioned the dignity of Palestinian lives and the 70 to 80% unemployment rate in Gaza. Really strong debate night from Bernie. There's another moment where he brought up the argument that, we've been making for a long time, and many on the left have been making for a long time, of Republicans say they care about small government, and then they want the government to be directly involved with a woman's body in the most intimate of ways. He made that argument very strongly on stage. He said that maybe it's time to prosecute fossil fuel executives because they knew about climate change, they knew what they were doing, and they didn't care. They cared more about profits. Just an overall super strong night from Bernie, and this answer was wonderful. At the end there, talking about the lives of the U.S. soldiers lost and the lives of the victims in the Middle East, which is not something many people do when talking about this. He said we need to rethink the entire war on terror. And he also went through the military budget. We spend more than the next 10 countries combined, 10 biggest militaries combined. And I like how he put that I love the line of, yeah, I'm going to get out of the Middle East, but I won't do it by tweet at 3 a.m. That's good, because that's it still gives him the anti-Trump flavor, even though he's agreeing with a lot of Trump's rhetoric on the campaign trail when Trump was saying he would get us out of the wars. Now, he hasn't, but it's the best of both worlds. It's Bernie I hate this guy and he's ridiculous, and also, by the way, yeah, we need to end the war on terror. So that's really good. And notice, guys, you do know that was a trick question, right? You do understand that when they're would you negotiate with the Taliban? And because they don't like Bernie, and they're trying to play got you with Bernie, and the whole idea was, let's try to get a soundbite here. So, if they say, oh, would you cut a deal with the Taliban? And then Bernie's like, yes. Every, establishment Democrat, certainly the Republicans, would clip that out and try to use that against him. But Bernie, in classic Bernie fashion, finds a way to give the right answer. He's like, but yeah, if we absolutely have to, sure. But also couch it in enough, absolutely irrefutable stuff that you can't play got you with him, because he nailed it. He absolutely nailed it. Now, by the way, just so everybody knows, if I was in that position and I was asked that question, I actually would have given this answer. No, I don't need to cut a deal with them to pull out. I would just pull out. That would have been my answer. Yeah, I would just get out. of Iraq. I'd get out of Afghanistan. I don't need to go to deal with Taliban. I'm just getting out. That's what I would say. But I actually respect that Bernie gave the answer he gave even more, because he even managed to say, yeah, I'd do it, while still knocking it out of the park, man, which is tough, but he did it because he packed that with substance, and he's dead on. So really solid night from Bernie overall. I could have given you 4 or 5 different clips here, but this is the one I chose. Another great moment. The very first question he was asked was about impeachment, and he gave the perfect answer. He was basically like, well, yeah, I mean, you have to hold people accountable when they break the law, so you absolutely have to look at this very seriously. At the same time, we can't only talk about Donald Trump. We have to talk about the issues. We have to talk about improving people's lives. That's how you win. That's how you inspire people. That's how you fix the country. Nailed it. Just absolutely nailed it. So strong debate performance from Bernie. The only criticism that I think is legit is none of it is, let me tell you, other than he called out Biden on the Iraq war, which was wonderful. But there's not that much of, let me tell you where Biden's wrong. Let me tell you where Warren's wrong. Let me tell you about this guy, Mayor Pete, and how terrible he is. There's none of that. It's very Bernie-esque in that it's like, stay in your lane, keep your blinders on, and just plow forward. But still, it's still a good debate performance, even though it wasn't the feuds that many were expecting as we keep getting closer and closer to the Iowa caucus. But I do think in due time, maybe more of that will start happening. We already saw a little bit of it, Tulsi versus Pete, Tulsi versus Kamala, some other spats on stage, but maybe it'll even get more, there will be more feuds moving forward because we're getting closer and closer to Iowa.